Welcome to the Genealogy Gems Podcast. It's a show filled with family history, research, strategies and techniques, news and entertainment, and inspiration. And I'm your host, Louise Cooke. Hello and welcome to Genealogy Gems Podcast episode number 161. You know, getting behind this microphone is always something I enjoy, but I love getting out on the road and giving presentations in person as well. And I'm just back from my recent jaunt across the country. And although hotel rooms and rental cars do get a little bit old after a while, I never get tired of meeting so many of you in person and hearing from you once I get back home. Most recently, I got an email from Linda. She lives down in Ventura, California, which is in Southern California, along the coast, beautiful area. And I was recently there presenting a full-day seminar for the Ventura County Genealogical Society. And Linda writes, I just loved your presentation Saturday at the Ventura Genealogy Seminar. I learned so much and feel very enthused to really get to work on this. In fact, I was so encouraged, I got brave and called a telephone number that I had found for a possible first cousin once removed. And surprise, it was him. And we had a lovely 30-minute conversation, and I'm going to send him information, and he and his wife invited me to Florida to visit. How about that? It was so exciting, still haven't gotten over it. Well, I'd say that is fantastic and exciting, and what a bonus that they live in Florida. I can think of a lot less enjoyable places to visit relatives than Florida, so sounds amazing. You know, Linda said that she was encouraged enough to get brave and make that telephone call. That can be a pretty scary thing. We all have things that we need a little bit of bravery to do. You know, last week, Bill and I were at our new home in northern Texas, and we were just back from the Texas State Genealogical Society Conference in Austin, Texas, where I gave 2 presentations to absolutely packed rooms. I mean, every seat was taken in the first class in the morning. And when it struck 9 o'clock and I started to speak, the door opened and about half as many people again walked through the door. I guess they had just finished up attending the opening remarks downstairs. It was a big room. But we had to spread them out all over the place. Well, I had a couple of questions about the local area when we were back at the house, and my husband says, well, why don't you head next door and ask our new next door neighbor? I just saw them out in the yard. And I hemmed and I hawed and I said I couldn't. And when he asked me why not, I just kind of whined and said, because I'm shy. Because I am, believe it or not. And he looked at me like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears. And he says, what? You just spoke to about 300 people. But see, for me, one-on-one or small parties is way more intimidating with people that I don't know very well than large groups. So yeah, we all have areas of weakness where we're a little timid about taking what we perceive to be a risk. And that brings me to an important question that I posed in the most recent edition of the free Genealogy Gems newsletter. I certainly hope that you're signed up for that and that you get those in your inbox on a regular basis. If you believe you signed up but you're not seeing them in your inbox, go check your spam folder, add us to your contact list, and mark them as not spam to get them back into the right spot. But in that most recent newsletter, I asked the question, have you taken a genealogical risk lately? And I talked about that while we were in Texas, we, of course, got in as much time as possible with our grandkids, Davy and Joey, which, except for them giving us the stomach flu, was awesome. And on the last night, we went out to dinner with my daughter, Vienna, and our son-in-law, Dave, and the 2 boys, who, by the way, are much better behaved in restaurants than my kids ever were. But I don't know how Vienna pulls that off. And we just wanted to enjoy our last evening together before Bill and I had to leave and head back to California for a few weeks. And it was this last-minute get-together. And Dave was only able to stay for part of the time for the meal because he had made plans a long time before to get together with some buddies of his to play Risk. Yeah, every few months, Dave and his friends get together for an evening of the popular board game Risk. Except in this group's case, these friends, these players are in California, Texas, London, and Australia. Over the years, their lives have taken them around the world and their work and their jobs, but that's no problem for these determined and very technologically minded guys. The friend in London, he runs the game board on his end, and then I think it was the guy in Australia who was running the camera, the Google Hangout, if you will, and they get together and they have just a laugh-filled but very competitive Google Hangout. And of course, Google Hangouts are free. If you have a free account, you can sign up and you can get your headset on and get your webcam going, and you can all see each other and talk and have a live get together online. Well, our dinner ran a little past game time, at least the start of game time. So, Dave pulls out his smartphone and the pre-game festivities just started right on time. And I just couldn't help but sit there and stare at this phone and watch, the faces of all these young engineer friends of his that are around the world, going past the little screen. It's a little 4-inch screen, and there they were in real time, sitting out there on the table of the restaurant, all getting together and starting right on time, no matter where they were. It was very, very cool. Dave and his friends don't let physical distance keep them apart, because getting together is more important to them than the barriers of doing so. So, the key question here, and the one I posed in the newsletter, is this. Are you fully embracing technology so that you can connect with those that matter to you, both living and in your family tree? There's not as much risk in doing that as you think there might be. And as I always say in my classes, if you've ever been in one of my live presentations, I always go, you can't break it. So go for it. Give it a try. And of course, Genealogy Gems, that's what we're all about here. That's why we're here, is to help kind of take away the fear and the anxiety and empower you with information so that you can take advantage of technology and what it can do for you and your genealogy. And yes, to answer your question, I did go next door and I said hi to the neighbors after all. And I ended up learning lots of fantastic information about the best places to eat, the traffic patterns, when to drive, when not to drive, how to prepare for the upcoming cold snap because we had a freeze right around the corner. They were just a wealth of information, and I would have missed out on it if I just hadn't taken a risk and gone next door. Besides the fact that they're just nice folks. They really were. And hey, I didn't break anything either, right? So, Linda reached out, used her old-fashioned technology, the telephone, to get a hold of a first cousin. And Dave, getting on Google Hangouts, getting together with folks around the world. And me, I just put my little 2 feet to the pavement and go next door and say hi. But no matter what it is, taking a little bit of risk, getting out of your comfort zone can really pay off. So that is my story. I'm sticking to it. And next up, I want to hear your story. So we're going to go do that over in the mailbox.
Bring me a letter from my old hometown, one with some jokes from my old pal Jim Brown. Bring me a letter from that girl of mine, saying that she's longing for me all the time. Bring me a letter from my proud old dad, who knows that we are winning, and I bet he's glad, but more than any other, a line from my old mother. Bring me a letter from my hometown.
Okay, here in the mailbox, I have an email from Eric, and he says, Lisa, I wanted to share this with you. This is my most complex Google Earth project ever. I hope you enjoy it. It's really been a big hit with my family. They don't glaze over right away, he says, laughing out loud. And he sent me the website address for this project that he's put together in Google Earth. So I'm going to have that for you in the show notes. And after viewing it, I couldn't help but wonder if there was video out there that he could add to it. And sure enough, I found a couple of different videos that might offer some potential. He's talking about in the Google Earth tour the World War II and the services of his relatives. And he was talking specifically about B-17s taking off from an area called Poddington. And believe it or not, I found a video on YouTube just using the keywords of things he talked about in his Google Earth tour. Found some really cool videos that he could include as well. So I'm going to put those in the show notes so you can start to get an idea of how we can add wonderful, great media and content that's online to really enrich the story of our family history. And that's what we're trying to do when I talk about using Google Earth for genealogy. At least it's just one aspect, actually. And that is telling the story in a really compelling way. These KMZ file tours that we're talking about here, they're almost like watching a video game, but they're interactive as well. And as far as the YouTube videos go, you can embed those videos and they'll play straight from any place marker that you set in Google Earth in your tour. And actually, when I wrote back to Eric and I mentioned to him these videos that I'd found and I was pretty excited about, he said that he had been thinking about adding video, but he just ended up putting it in links because the embed code wasn't working properly from YouTube. He couldn't get that to work. So for those of you who have gotten the Google Earth for Genealogy video CDs that we have at the store at genealogygems.com, and of course I also talk about it in my book, The Genealogist Google Toolbox. It's the latter half of the book. We talk about Google Earth. If you're trying to embed YouTube video into your family history tour, the problem is actually YouTube. It's not you. If you're having trouble lately getting that in there. And I've noticed this. Google Earth absolutely still supports YouTube video in place marks. But if you look really closely at the YouTube embed code, the embed code is the little HTML code that's included when you click share under any video on YouTube. Typically, you can share that video using that code. And for some unknown reason, when you click it, YouTube has been leaving off the HTTP. And of course, that makes it so the code doesn't work. So copy and paste the embed code into your Google Earth placemark or on your blog, if you're adding a video to a blog or wherever you want to put it. And then you'll need to correct that URL code so that it truly is complete. So check it. If it's not working right, is there an HTTP : / at the beginning of the embed code for your YouTube video? Chances are, if it's not working for you properly, whether it's on your blog or on your Google Earth family history tour, that's the reason. It's actually that it wasn't there when you copied it from YouTube. So you can just go into the front end of that code and type it in, HTTP : and typically that's the part that's missing, and then it should work beautifully. And speaking of Google Earth and genealogy and history, I wanted to mention also to you that I came across a really interesting article. Now let's see where this one is. It is at the Washington Post. The article is called "Google Cameras Capture a Walk Through Arlington National Cemetery." And it says, a virtual walk through Arlington National Cemetery. The images taken by the cameras in Google's Trekker will be available to the public in May for the cemetery's 150th anniversary, honoring the day when Private William Chrisman became the first soldier buried there. The Google Trekker is, you know how the car drives by and has kind of a tripod on top, and it's taking 360-degree street view images as it's driving the street. Well, in places where they can't drive a car, they oftentimes have used, they call it a tricycle. They did this in Paris and Paris, in fact, because some of the streets were so narrow, they couldn't get the car down comfortably. They ended up putting somebody on literally what's like a bike or a trike, if you will. It had 3 wheels, And then it had a big post in the back end of it with the 360-degree cameras. But even then, sometimes you can't ride a bike. And certainly at Arlington National Cemetery, and you'll see it in the photograph here in the article, there's flights and flights of stairs, going up to various hills within the cemetery. And so it's pretty much by foot. And that is what the Google Trekker is. It's like a backpack that the Google guy puts on his back, and it has the 360-degree camera up at the top above the head of the guy and attached to the backpack. And he walks all around these various areas where, you can't tread without using your own 2 feet, and they collect the pictures for Street View. This is a fabulous use, I think, for this technology, and it's going to bring Street View to a whole new level beyond just the street, but actually walking into places and even inside of buildings. They've already been doing this in some of those kinds of situations. So I'm going to have a link in the show notes for you to check out this article. It really is interesting, and it's really cool to see a photograph of what the Google Trekker really looks like. So thank you so much, Eric, for writing and for sharing your tour. And I really hope that those of you listening take a moment and go to the show notes. You go to genealogygems.com, hover your mouse over podcast in the menu, select the Genealogy Gems podcast, and you're going to navigate your way to episode 161. If you've ever really wondered what in the world I'm talking about when it comes to Google Earth, if you haven't had an opportunity to sit down and watch the free 1-hour video that I have of Google Earth for genealogy on the website, go ahead and go to the show notes for this episode and click this link and check out what Eric has put together. Here's an example of somebody who's just been listening to the show, checked out the videos, and really put something very cool together to really memorialize an important member of his family. And I think this is really awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. And from Cameron. Cameron writes, I'm a 23-year-old graduate of nursing school and a huge fan of your Genealogy Gems podcast. I've been researching my family history for about 5 years off and on, and I've discovered more than I've ever imagined. I've been listening to your show for about 3 months now after I discovered it, and I appreciate all the helpful tips. However, I still have a little problem. I can't seem to find the maiden name of one of my recent ancestors, Sally Mosley. She was born in 1863. I assumed in Emmanuel County, Georgia. She married James Mosley in the 1880s. I know that the courthouse in Emmanuel County burned several times, so that could be why I can't find a marriage record. I have found a death record on Ancestry, but it isn't very detailed unless you ordered the certificate. If I visited the courthouse, could they possibly dig up a detailed death certificate? Well, I really appreciate, Cameron, you listening to the podcast. Thank you so much. And congratulations on graduating nursing school. That is a fantastic field to be in these days. My grandmother was a nurse for over 50 years and absolutely loved it. I ran a quick Google search on your question and found the following about the Emmanuel County, Georgia record site. It says, death certificates are open to the public. You must be a member of the immediate family to acquire a death certificate with the cause of death. Our death certificates on the local level begin at 1927 and back to 1917 in our state office. And that was from emmanuelprobate.com. So, depending on when she died, they may be able to be of help. But if it's earlier than that, then at least you can do that Google search and find this out before you take the time and energy and money to go in person and check yourself. I would also recommend contacting local historical and genealogical societies. They often have the inside scoop on what's available and how to access it locally. And a quick Google search should certainly help you make contact. Run the search in Google Earth, and it's actually going to plot it out for you on the map and show you where they're located. And then you click the map place markers, and there should be a little balloon that pops up and has a link to their website, and you're on your way. So I wish you great success, and thank you again so much for listening to the show. Okay, well, our next gem that's coming up actually comes to you via the Family Tree Magazine podcast. You may or may not know that I do produce and host the Family Tree Magazine podcast. I've been doing so for, almost 5 years now, I guess. But in the November 2013 episode of the podcast, our theme was ethnic heritage. And I got a wonderful opportunity to get on Skype with the archivist of Norway. And this gentleman really knows his stuff and has a wonderful website to tell us about. And since I don't think we've actually covered Norwegian research here on the show, it seems like it's about time. So that is coming up in our next gem.
From my proud old dad, who knows that we are winning, and I'll bet he's glad. But more than any other, a line from my old mother. Bring me a letter from my hometown.
I've got some great news for all you genealogists out there. RootsMagic 6 is now available, and it offers some of the most customer-requested features, like online publishing, the ability to search every record, not just people, an editable timeline view, which is really incredible, and new web tags, which lets you link people, sources, places, and research log items to web pages, plus dozens of other great enhancements, and of course, all the built-in features that you've come to enjoy. There is a little something here for everyone. Now, if you're already a devoted RootsMagic user like I am, or if you're looking to take the next step in your family history research and finally start recording your family tree in your own genealogy database, or if you've just been wanting to make a switch to a much more user-friendly program, there's no better time to get your copy of RootsMagic 6. Do it now. Go to RootsMagic.com and download your risk-free trial of RootsMagic 6. You'll see why professionals and beginners alike choose RootsMagic at RootsMagic.com.
Ja, vi älskar, sunget av Hjalmar Örn, Edison Record.
Ja, vi älskar detta landet som det stiger fram. Hurrit bär mitt över vandet med ditt husen jäm. Älskar det jag tänker över far och mor och den daga natt som tänker drömmer på vår jord och den daga natt som tänker drömmer på vår jord. Detta land har Haraldberget med sin kämperas. Detta land har Håkonberget med en söjden kvad. Och det landet Olaf malte har sett med sitt blod. Fra det auger Sverre talte, Roma med din mål. Fra det auger Sverre talte Roma med din.
For those of you with Norwegian Heritage, you'll be looking at the National Archives of Norway's digital archive. It certainly is a key place to go for genealogists looking to do Norwegian research. And here to tell us more about it is Yngve Nedreb. And I hope I said your name correctly. You are the Chief Archivist at the Digital Archives. Welcome.
Yes, it was very good, so thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And, I don't have Norwegian ancestors, but I do know some folks who do. And I understand from them that one of the most important tools for genealogical research in Norway are church records. Is that something that we will find there at your National Archives digital archive?
Yes, you will find a scanned version of the old parish registers or church books. We have published every book older than 1930, and you can find the correct place, and you can find all these books available to look through. But also, quite a few have been typed, so you can search in a database as well.
Oh, so they would be keyword searchable.
Yes,
we could actually
not all of them, but
not all of them,
but quite a few.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, your group, I know, there is the National Archives of Norway, which is in Oslo, and you're a local branch of that. Is that correct?
That's right. We are situated in Bergen, and we started this website in 1998. But at present, the work is partly done in Bergen and partly done in Oslo.
And what prompted you to take the leap from moving from the records that people can access in person to the great task of trying to get them digitized and onto the web?
Well, we started in the early 1970s, and it was in a cooperation with the University of Bergen. We were doing research on demography, and to do that, we needed to make databases from the censuses and from the church records. And it started there, and we didn't know anything about the internet at that time, of course. But after doing quite a lot of work on this, and I must admit that quite a few archivists in Norway, they were laughing at us. They thought that we were wasting our time. But then we came into the 1980s, and we went on with the work. And we could make databases go into CDs, and we could distribute them to other countries, and we thought that was a good idea. But then in the 1990s, internet came along, and that provided first-class opportunity of publishing those old databases.
That's incredible, the vision that you had so early on, and how the internet just gave you that next vehicle to really make it all available to people around the world.
Yes, I must say that the internet has been a revolution. Now we can go into the internet. I use it, of course, every day, and I can go anywhere in the world and find a lot of records. And that made these old crazy work that we did in the 1970s and 80s so much more worth.
Exactly. And I know, in addition to the church records, you have, of course, the census. Tell us, first of all, how often was the census taken in Norway?
Well, the first national census in Norway was taken in 1769, but that was only numbers, so we have no names. The next one came along in 1801, and that was a big census taken both in Denmark and in Norway. Norway was a part of Denmark at that time. And that gave us 883,000 names in Norway. Not so much, but that was all of Norway at that time.
Right.
And we got the next one in 1815, but that was just numbers. And so it went on until 1865, and that was with all the names, birthplaces, and occupations. So that was a useful one. Then we got another one in 1875, then in 1891, 1900, 1910, 1920, and so on.
And so how much of that are those records available on the digital archive?
Well, in Norway, we have a law saying that we are not given the opportunity of publishing censuses before they are 100 years old. So at present we have the 1910 as the last one.
Okay, so up to 1910, we can access from the website. And let's talk about the website a little bit. As a genealogist, we're coming to it for the first time, and where do you suggest that we start?
Well, it depends, of course, what you would like to find. If you have anything near a clear vision of where in Norway you should start, you could go into the parish registers, as long as you know something about the name and the time this person was born or confirmed or married or emigrated. We have also the immigration records, which are very, very useful for people tracing immigrants from Norway. So perhaps I would start with the immigration records if I were from America and trying to find a Norwegian forefather or foremother. And we made that project for the full in the year 2000 to celebrate the 175th anniversary of Norwegian immigration. And there were approximately 1 million Norwegian immigrants. And as I stated earlier, there were just 883,000 Norwegians in 1801. So a very, very high percentage of the Norwegian population went to America. Only Ireland could show more immigrants compared to the population size. So
That's
most
incredible.
Norwegians have more relatives in America than they have in Norway.
Oh, fascinating. Okay, so there definitely is a partnership there.
Yes.
Now, I notice when I come to the website and I see the listing, as you mentioned, the probate records, you've got some land property tax list, the census. I see over on the right-hand side it says sign in. Is that something, should we set up some kind of an account with the website to best interact with it?
No, not really. This is free of all charges, so you can go into it and use it. But if you would like to put questions to us, then you would need to sign in. We would need to have your email address to be sure that you are not a fake person.
Right.
So that's the reason we are asking people to register.
Makes sense. And what a wealth of information you certainly would have for any of us doing Norwegian research. This is really an incredible resource on the web. And what do you see in the future for the digital archives? What are you working on next?
Well, we have been occupied in getting a new set of systems for the digital archives. We should have completed that work a few years ago, but it still goes on. So when we come up to the 1st of January next year, I hope that we have these new programs available, and that will give us the opportunity of taking all the records over to new platforms. And we would like to go on with the 1920 census, which we are allowed to publish in 2020. We are going to put out more real estate information. We are in a project trying to computerize all the Norwegian parish registers from 1801 to 1814, as next year is the 200 years anniversary of the Norwegian state. The 17th of May 1814 it started, and our project is a demographic one. We will try to present in the internet the total Norwegian population between 1801 and 1814. So that
amazing.
is what we are working very hard on at the moment.
Oh, it sounds like exciting projects. This is really such an amazing website. I do research in a couple of other countries, and I wish they were all as comprehensive as this one.
Well, I went to University of Grand Forks, North Dakota, in 2005, and that was where we introduced the parish registers in a scanned version in the internet. And I came there, and there were a couple of hundred Norwegian Americans, and they were 65 plus. And they were used to using microcards and microfilms, or go far away to find these information. And I could show them that now you could go home, you could put on your own computer, you could sit in your best seat, and you can use all the records you want for free.
Yeah,
and they were just amazed.
That is so cool. And I know, North Dakota was an area that a lot of Norwegians settled, did they not?
That's right. More than 50% of the immigrants to North Dakota came from Norway, because the temperatures were pretty much the same as they were used to in Norway.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's interesting. It makes you wonder how they first identified a town or a state, and they all I'm sure, sent for friends and relatives.
That's right. They were looking for relatives, and they came over and worked for their relatives for 1 year or 2 years, 3 years, and then they had collected a little money, and then they had collected information about where to go. So Norwegians, they went first to Illinois, then to Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, and then to Montana, and finally to Washington. So they were keeping to the north.
Yes, exactly. And that's where my friends who do research, I actually lived up in Washington State for several years, and I know many Norwegians there. I wanted to ask you really quickly, I noticed on the website it says, well, on the English version it says Digital Inn, and it says there's guest rooms is what they're calling them, and it looks like lists of hyperlinked names. Are these like studies on particular ancestors, or what is this?
No, we started in 1998, and in 1999, a lot of people offered us help. So they said that they would like to work in cooperation with us. And at present, we have between 700 and 800 individuals sitting in Australia or in Spain or in Norway doing databases for us.
Oh, this is fantastic. This is almost a volunteer kind of organization of people who are helping you get this done. Amazing. Crowdsourcing
yes.
of people around the world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And we also thought that would make them feel that they were owning a part of this community. So
right.
They are very eager, and a few of them are working almost all day for us for free.
Isn't that amazing? I know that Family Search does a lot of that type of thing here in the U.S. and have people who transcribe records and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Is that how you're getting the records searchable? Is it people are doing some transcription for you?
Partly. For the time being, a little more than 50% of the work are done by volunteers, and a little less than 50% are done by hired workers.
That's great. That's great. Well, I'm amazed at the story you told about how long ago you really had a vision for all of this, that technology was going to be the key to getting the word out. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, but it started as a small project, just to study family history and to study demography, to find death rates and marriage rates and so on. And
right.
Well, from there on, you could go on to genealogy, and we had done the work and we had collected the data. So why not offer it to other people?
Exactly. And is the Norwegian government very supportive of all of this? I'm imagining so, but
yes, they are, and we have had quite good standings as we are very cheap. We do not cost very much money. 50% of the production are done by volunteers, and we are getting a lot of positive newspaper information and publicity. So politicians think that this is a good investment.
Oh, yeah. It fares well for the whole country that you guys are accomplishing so much, like you say, on a good budget.
Yeah, and also that you see that today Norway has 5 million people. And we have databases with 20 million posts, and we have almost 20 million pages. So a very high percentage of the Norwegian information are available through the digital archives. And of course that is also important. The Danes, they have done a little bit of the same, but they have had to rely on volunteers for all the work. So the government in Denmark has not been willing to give any money. We have been given quite good money, and we have invested that in other people helping us. So we can get more out than the government could expect.
Right. I was also curious too. You said that all of the people in Norway today have so many American connections. Are Norwegians as interested in genealogy as we tend to be here in America, and are they excited about making the connection on both sides of the pond?
Yes, they have. You see, I went to America once to give a speech on genealogy, and I said that Americans tend to be much more interested in this than Norwegians, because my family has lived on the same farm since the late 16th century. So I know that every house has a story. Every part of the farm can tell a story about my great-great-grandfather and so on. So I have my roots here. But in America, you have your roots everywhere. So you will have to go and look. I don't have to look. I just will make a walk with my father or my grandfather, and they can point out and say, that was made by your great-grandfather, and that was made by his grandfather, and so on. So we have the family history around us. But now Norwegians tend to be moving around much more than they used to. And that gives us looser roots, and that makes us more eager to find the roots. So we are more concerned about genealogy now, I guess. But in earlier times, we were proud of our heritage. We were connected to it. When we went to the graveyard, we can find all those gravestones, and they were a part of the story. We could go inside the church, and we could point out paintings. Or one of my great-grandfathers, he was sitting in the church, and suppose the minister didn't have a very good day, so he took up his knife and he was carving a little message to the years to come. And he made that in 1641, and it's still there. So
amazing.
So you have so much from your family history just around you.
And in some ways, there's pros and cons to both. I mean, it would be amazing to have it such an integral part of your daily life, and yet it's exciting as Americans to have so many different mysteries to solve around the world. Yes. So it's kind of the best of both for all of us. Certainly a website to keep our eye on, and you can certainly do that. You'll notice right from the home page that they have the ongoing news coming out of the digital archive from the Archives of Norway, and you can find it at arkivverket.no. And I'll have the complete link to get you directly to the English version, or you can just click English in the upper right-hand corner of the website. Yngve, thank you so much for taking a few moments on the other side of the world to chat with us and introduce us to your amazing website. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Profile America, a public service of the U.S. Census Bureau. Given what seems to be the ever-growing profusion of coffee vendors, imagine what a crisis it would be if coffee were suddenly rationed. That's exactly what happened this month in 1942 because the war had interrupted shipments and people were hoarding coffee. But rationing lasted only until the next summer. It's thought that coffee was introduced into America by Captain John Smith, one of the founders of the Jamestown colony in Virginia. Its popularity jumped after both the Boston Tea Party and the beginning of Prohibition. For those who don't make their own coffee, there are just over 19,000 coffee shops across the country, and they sell more than $10 billion worth of coffee annually. You can find current data on the country's economy by downloading the America's Economy mobile application at census.gov/mobile.
Thank you so much for joining me for episode 161 of the Genealogy Gems Podcast. And you will find all the links and information to this episode at genealogygems.com. Go to podcast in the menu, select Genealogy Gems Podcast, and navigate to 161. That's the episode number. And of course, as you probably have heard by now, we are also republishing the very popular Family History Genealogy Made Easy podcast. That one originally launched back in 2008, and it ran through 2010. It used to be on a different website. That site kind of went different directions. We took it off the website, and now we are remastering those episodes and getting them published on genealogygems.com. So now, when you hover your mouse over podcast in the menu, you're going to see both podcasts there available to select from. And every week on Tune In Tuesday, we publish the next episode in that family history series. It's a total of 46 episodes, and in general, they still hold up pretty well. And for the occasional times when there might be some things websites that have come and gone or things that have changed, we do make notes about that in the show notes to kind of keep you up to date. But it's a wonderful way just to get a little more family history time in, a little more education, and also just some inspiration, because we have some wonderful guests on that series, including Dick Eastman and Marjorie Bell, and all kinds of folks that I know that you'll enjoy. Kurt Witcher is going to be on an upcoming episode, and boy, is he fantastic, from the Allen County Public Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So all of that is in the Family History Genealogy Made Easy podcast, and it is free, just like this one. So you can go to iTunes as well and subscribe to it for free. And let me just let you know that because we took the podcast off of the old Personal Life Media website, the feed that was originally in iTunes, the way you subscribe to it in iTunes, that had to be taken down as well. So we have a brand new feed, but what it means is all those amazing 5-star ratings and wonderful comments that so many of you left on that original feed have gone away as well. And, it really is the 5-star ratings and that feedback that you leave that really helps the podcast get higher up the list and get noticed and become available to other people who are just kind of randomly searching in iTunes. So we truly are grateful when you do that. And if you have a moment and you're enjoying the show, that is a wonderful way to let us know. And at the same time, you're going to be giving a little boost to this newly republished series, and that's going to put it in the hands and the ears of lots of other family historians out there who I know would appreciate it. So if you get a moment and you can go in and do that, that would be wonderful. I thank you. And of course, with the holidays right around the corner, stay tuned to the blog. This is the time of year to be definitely checking in at genealogygems.com. We've got new blog posts nearly every day. We're doing a better job of that. We also list those in our newsletter, but we've got some great specials coming up. I can't tell you what they are yet. I'm going to promise you they are great specials for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, right? So this is the Friday after Thanksgiving to the Monday following Thanksgiving. It all happens so fast this year. In fact, Thanksgiving falls on my husband's birthday. So it's going to be super fast in the Cooke house. We're doing Thanksgiving, we're doing birthday, and then we're 3 weeks away and heading to Texas and doing Christmas. So it's going to be crazy busy, but it's going to be wonderful and family time. And so what I wanted to let you know was we are going to have our really cool, you've never seen it before, special running that weekend. And you will see it there on the blog. You can access it from the website, and we'll have it in the store for you. And I think that you're going to enjoy it. So there'll be a couple of different goodies there, kind of bundles and things that you haven't seen before that will be available, and save you a lot of money. Let's just put it that way. That's what's going to happen, is you're going to save a lot of money and perhaps pull together some gifts for other people as well. So that's coming up. What else is going on? I think that's it. You're just going to have to stay in touch and tune back in here and read the newsletter as it comes to your inbox. And as always, I really appreciate that you spend your time with us here on the show. I know there's lots of different things for you to do, particularly during the busy holidays, but I'm certainly appreciative that you spend a little time here with us at Genealogy Gems. So thank you so much for listening, friend. I'll talk to you soon.